This year, our Rosh Hashana Torah reading comes from Exodus chapter 13. Vayomer Moshe el ha'am, Zachor et hayom hazeh asher yatzatem mimitzrayim, mibet avadim, ki bechozek yad hotzi yave etchem mizeh, velo ye'achel chametz. Hayom atem yotzim b'chodesh ha'aviv. V'haya ki yaviacha yave el eretz haknaani v'hachiti v'ha'emori v'hachivi v'hayevusi asher nishba la'avotecha latet lecha eretz zavat chalav u'dvash ve'avadata et ha'avoda hazot b'chodesh hazeh shiv'at yamim tochal matzot uvayom hashvi'i chag liyave matzot ye'achel et shivat hayamim ve'lo yira'e lecha chametz ve'lo yira'e lecha she'ar b'kol gevulcha. V'higadeta levincha bayom hahu lemor ba'avur ze asa yave li b'tzeti mimitzrayim. V'haya lecha leot al yadecha ulezikaron ben enecha lema'an tehye torat yave b'ficha ki b'yad chazaka hotziacha yave mimitzrayim ushmarta et hachuka hazot lemo'ada miyamim yamema. V'haya ki yaviacha yave el eretz hakanaani ka'asher nishba lecha u'la'avotecha u'natna lecha v'ha'avarta kol peter rechem leyave v'chol peter sheger bahema asher yihyeh lecha hazacharim leyave v'chol peter chamor tifdeh baseh v'im lo tifdeh v'arafto v'chol bechor adam bevanecha tifdeh. V'haya ki yishalcha bincha machar lemor mazot v'amarta alav b'chozek yad hotzianu yave mimitzrayim mibet avadim v'yehi ki hiksha paro lishalchenu v'yaharog yave et bechor be'eretz mitzrayim mi bechor adam ad bechor behema al ken ani zoveach leyave kol peter rechem hazecharim v'chol bechor banai afte v'haya laot al yadcha ulatotafot ben enecha ki bechozek yad hotzianu yave mi mitzrayim. Moses said to the people, "Remember this day in which you came out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand Yahweh the God has brought you out from this place. No leavened bread shall be eaten. Today you go out in the month of spring, Aviv. It shall be when Yahweh brings you into the land of the Canaanite and the Hittite, the Amorite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, which he swore to your fathers to give to you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and in the 7th day shall be a feast to Yahweh. Unleavened bread shall be eaten through the 7 days, and no leavened bread shall be seen with you. No yeast shall be seen with you in all of your borders. You shall tell your son on that day, saying, it is because of what Yahweh did for me when I came from Egypt. It shall be a sign to you on your hand, a memorial between your eyes, that Yahweh's law may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand Yahweh brought you out of Egypt. You shall therefore keep this ordinance in its season from year to year. It shall be when Yahweh brings you into the land of the Canaanite as he swore to you and to your fathers, and will give it to you, that you shall set apart to Yahweh all that opens the womb, and every firstborn that comes from an animal which you have. The males shall be for Yahweh. Every firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, and if you will not redeem it, then you shall break its neck. And you shall redeem all the firstborn among your sons. It shall be, when your son asks you in time to come, saying, what is this? That you shall tell him, by strength of hand Yahweh brought us out from Egypt, from the house of slavery. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, Yahweh killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of livestock. Therefore I sacrifice to Yahweh all that opens the womb that are male, but all the firstborn of my sons I redeem. It will be a sign on your hand and symbols between your eyes, for by strength of hand Yahweh brought us out of Egypt." This Torah passage is not the traditional Rosh Hashana Torah reading. You might have guessed from the references to matzah. In a humanistic congregation, we choose what we study from the library of Jewish culture. So why did I choose to talk about Passover during Rosh Hashana? Rosh Hashana is the Jewish New Year, and Passover is 6 months away. However, if we go back far enough in Jewish cultural history, Passover was in the first month, and Yom HaTeruah, the day of sounding the shofar, was in the 7th month. You might have noticed that in one of the readings in the service today. On the 7th month, sound the shofar. What happened? The tradition changed. The Jewish New Year moved from spring to fall, as it is today. The tradition changed? Well, if tradition is a living thing, it grows and adapts and changes. Is it still Passover if we eat matzah at the Seder but do not purge our pantries of all leavened food? This Torah passage says no, but we say yes. If we no longer sacrifice the firstborn of our livestock, if we no longer redeem the firstborn of our sons who still belong to a possessive God, are we still heirs to the Exodus story? This passage says no, but we say yes. The traditions described here, eating matzah in the spring and redeeming the firstborn, those traditions may have already existed when the Exodus story was first written. Ancient observances dedicated to agricultural and animal fertility were connected with a new story. If you remove the old wheat, it is a sign of faith in the new harvest. The same is true for sacrificing the firstborn animals hoping for future birth. This would be nothing new in the history of traditions. New reasons for old observances, that's old news. Maybe these traditions were something new that was claimed to be something old. If you are creating a founding myth about an event that supposedly happened a long time ago, the myth becomes that much more compelling when attached to ritual practice. And the ritual practice is more compelling when it is claimed to be ancient, from the time of entering the land of Canaan or from the moment of the Exodus itself. That too would be nothing new. There's even an academic term for it, traditioning. Claiming something new is really an ancient tradition. That's traditioning. And what's wrong with you that you've never heard of it? New observances claiming old reasons, that's also old news. Or maybe the Torah is telling some kind of truth here, and these ritual practices really began during some kind of exodus. So why write this passage? Two reasons, both essential to traditions. First, a ritual action connects you to the story. Lighting Hanukkah candles, eating Passover matzah, hearing the shofar. The story is more believable and the ritual is more meaningful because they reinforce each other. Even more important is the second reason. As it says in this passage, when your child comes to you in the future and asks you, Mazot, what is this? Traditions without teaching have no future. As it says, you will tell your child, the Hebrew is higadata. You can even hear the word haggadah built into that verb. Those American immigrant Jews who used Yiddish as a secret language to talk around their children did their children a disservice because their children did not learn the Yiddish language. I fully understand their motivation. I remember the tragedy when our first child learned what we meant by ICECREAM. Traditions that last are not just observed, they are taught. Traditions that last are not just performed by rote, they are given reasons. Traditions that last are not just reenacting the past, they give raw material to the next generation to create new meaning in the future. These Torah passages, including that simple question, Mazot, what is this? They lived on in the Passover Haggadah. And the Passover Haggadah has seen 1,000 rebirths in new formats, new illustrations, new texts and new contexts, new symbols and new meaning. The Exodus event this passage and these symbols tell us to remember may never have actually happened. I certainly hope it never happened, given the killing of the firstborn, a scary reason to keep a tradition. What we remember is the creation of the tradition, its evolution through Jewish culture, its example to us as we create our own meaningful Judaism. We too must answer that simple question from the child who can barely ask, Mazot, what is this? This is the Jewish culture I received from the past, and I pass it on to you.